Hello ladies. It's another beautiful day here in my living room. I'm so glad you could join me. Today I just have a really short practice for you to work on just hips and hamstrings and a little bit low back too. And this class you'll just need a blanket or a beach towel works and a block if you have one. And we'll get started. So with your blanket or your towel, just fold it so that you have quite a good amount of depth here. And we'll take that and set it underneath of us in just a seated position. So kind of tuck it up underneath so that you feel that it's supporting you right underneath of your sits bones. And if you feel underneath here, you should feel these two bony points. Just make sure those are sitting right on that blanket. And we'll find just a comfortable seat and just kind of start to check in. Maybe closing your eyes, maybe hands on the tops of your thighs, or maybe hands to your belly. It's kind of checking in here with our breath. And just taking a moment to really notice how your breath feels in your body. And also how you feel. So do you feel connected to your breath? Maybe connected to your baby? Maybe for the first time today. Maybe it's been a busy day for you. So just checking in, maybe letting go of those responsibilities and letting go of your day. And just be this mama on this mat with this baby. And real quick, just before we begin, go ahead and let's have a little gratitude for ourselves, for just taking this time out of our day. Sometimes just getting here is the most challenging part. The practice itself is wonderful, but getting here can be the challenge. So thank yourself. And then we'll open our eyes, a soft gaze. And we'll lengthen our right leg long and shift this left foot in. Doesn't matter where it sits, if it's more up towards the knee or more in towards the inner thigh. Any way is perfect. And if you'll kind of notice, my leg isn't exactly right straight in front here. It can be, but just depending on how far along you are. But you have this movement. You can shift the foot a little bit more over to the side to make space for baby here. And just here, just find yourself nice and tall. And I like to use tinted fingers to my mat or to the floor. And we're just going to hinge at the hips and lead with the chest and kind of aim for the center to begin, just so that you give yourself plenty of space. And we'll just pause right here for a moment. So if there's opportunity here, if you need to make any kind of adjustments here, maybe you can bring that foot closer in. You've got more space than you thought, or maybe you need more space and you need to shift it out a little further. That's perfect here. Then if you feel good here, you need a little bit more, you can start to wave your toes at me, just kind of side to side here. And maybe you'd like to point into the toes and flex into the heels. And then point again into the toes and flex into the heels. Then we'll walk our fingertips back up just a moment, kind of check in. Sometimes I slide off my blanket a little bit, so if you do that, just shift yourself back on. And we'll just return again, that hinging at the hips and leading with the chest. One more. And this one, you might feel like you're going a little bit deeper this time, and that's perfect. And if not, feels about the same, that's okay too. And I find a little bit of side-to-side movement helps me here, especially into my hips. I always find movement that kind of suits my needs, and I encourage that if that feels right for you. And then we'll start to walk fingertips back towards us. We'll switch out the feet. So left leg goes long, right foot comes in. And this is Abner here. You might only be able to see a part of him, but that's my dog Abner. And then we'll find, I'm gonna ease back up onto my blanket. I wanna make sure I'm real tall to my blanket here. And then we'll find the same thing. So we'll just hinge here at the hips and we'll lead with the chest. So we wanna stay nice and tall as we fold forward. And again, you might notice I'm kind of moving a little bit, and that's perfect here. And we're not trying to touch our toes, or not trying to get far. We're just getting a stretch in the back of this leg. And it's early in our practice, so if it feels like it's being a little hard today, it's okay. So we'll then find some maybe waving at me. So I'll wave at you, you wave at me, and just say hello. And maybe you're ready to start pointing into the toes and flexing into the heel. And again, pointing into the toes and flexing into the heel. And we'll do that one more time. And then we'll start to walk our fingertips back up. Gonna make sure we're in a good position, make sure we're real tall, and we'll just repeat. We'll just exhale, hinge at the hips again, lead with the chest. And again, this time, if you want to find a little bit of movement, if you need to make adjustments, make room for baby. Make this work well for you. Then start to walk your fingertips back up nice and slow. Then we'll bend this knee in. Use hands for support to come to a hands and knees position. And you'll need your blanket or your towel. And I just fold mine so that I have all the space on my mat. And I'm even gonna fold it again so that I have lots of cushion under my knees. Let's be real good to our knees today. And then walk yourself up to a table. So we find wrists underneath of our shoulders, and knees we'll take to the outside edge or the inside. Just on the inside here. So we don't want to go too far. We don't want to feel like we're too far apart here, but we want to make sure that we're staying on our blanket to keep that nice sturdy support. And from here, let's start to lead with the pelvis here. We're going to make some circles. So it's like we're going to draw some circles here with our pelvis. Maybe more with the hips, if that makes more sense for you. And then we'll make these movements just as big or as simple as you'd like. Sometimes the hips don't want to do this, so sometimes I say do kind of half C shapes instead of full circles, little half crescents, and just do one side and then do the other side. But if you're okay with those circles, keep going circles. Let's go in that opposite direction. So change directions here just to get some more of those kinks out. And kind of you've been here for a minute, so maybe you'd like to kind of hang out, maybe down low for a moment, maybe find a little bouncing, and then continue on. Just kind of find what feels good. So remember that we always want to work with what feels good in our poses. We're not interested in you experiencing any pain here. A little discomfort, like the feeling of a stretch, that's okay. But if your body says no, stop, please, just listen. And we'll find ourselves some stillness here. So check in. I kind of slid around a little bit here. So make sure that you're nicely on your blankets again and that you're back to your table. Right hand when you're ready is going to go right underneath of your face. Left fingertips when you're ready will start to open up, lengthen up so we open our chest open towards this left side. So nice and open here, so nice and strong in your right hand that's supporting you here. So kind of press down where you feel your knuckles, all your fingers and your palm. On the exhale, we'll come down nice and slow. And then we'll switch out the hands. So left hand goes underneath of your face, right fingertips start to come up. So feel like you're nice and stacked here, nice and open. Couple of breaths. And this exhale brings us down nice and slow. And we'll find our regular hands and knees. So shift your knees in till they're about hip width apart, and then start to walk the hands just a little bit forward until you're ready to start putting your forehead down to your mat. And coming down to elbows here, you can bend the elbows as much as you need. You can shift the hands and just rest the forehead all the way down. And maybe you'd like to find a little bit of movement from side to side, maybe swaying the hips real big from right to left. Slowly start to bring hands closer in so that you're back to your table. Find your block. Bring your block up towards the top of your mat, and it can be at any height, just as long as it's ready for you. And then take your blanket and fold it so that we have a nice, probably about a 2 or 3 inch piece here. And I kind of like the rounded end to be the one I use first. And we'll take that side, I'll do the left side first. So we'll take that blanket so that we have that rounded corner as close to our left knee as possible. And we'll make our way to a table. So from your table, we'll start to shift the left knee forward. It's going to come up behind your left hand, and then the ankle starts to shift over towards the right side. So keep support here with your hands all times, then curl the back toe under to shift the back knee back. So take a second, do that a couple of times until you feel you're in a good position. We want that back knee to be facing down towards the floor, so the top of that foot is kind of planted down onto your mat. Then we take our blanket and tuck it up underneath of that left hip. So you can, I love this option, you can kind of fold it a little bit more if you need a little bit more height here. And so I don't know if you're familiar with pigeon pose, and that's what we're working on here. But in traditional pigeon, we would fold over the front leg, but in prenatal yoga, we go over towards this side here. So we will find, maybe if you feel good here, maybe you'd like to lower down a little bit, maybe by bending elbows, maybe by coming down to forearms. And that's where this block is nice. Sometimes people like to put their foreheads down to your block for just a little bit of added support. And I encourage, again, movement, anything that feels good here. If you find that you need just to kind of shift a little bit every now and again, I highly encourage that. And we just kind of settle in here to our pigeon pose. So I'm going to shift here so that I can kind of fold a little bit. And just kind of focus on length here wherever I can achieve it. So from the crown of my head all the way to those back toes. And just kind of thinking about those places that you feel tightness and just kind of breathing, sending breath to those places and relaxation. And so if that blanket is not enough for you here, you can always switch it out for your block. Maybe just a little bit more shifting, a little bit more swaying here if you'd like. Let's kind of see if there's any spots that need some extra shifting. Then we'll slowly start to inch our hands back to kind of table hands. So how we started, curl the back toe under to shift that back knee forward. Then the blanket shifts out of the way, back knee shifts back. Find a child's pose or a puppy, either one. So we did puppy earlier, that was forehead rest down. Or child's pose, and you can widen the knees as much as you'd like here. So forehead rests all the way down. And both of these, puppy or child's pose, either one, are really letting go poses. So We just kind of let our body be heavy and let the weight of our body accomplish the stretch for us. There's really not much we need to do except relax into it. Slowly start to inch your way up, nice and slow. Find your blanket. Let's bring it so that it's ready for that right side. And we'll find our table again. And this time, we'll start to shift the right knee forward. The ankle starts to shift over towards the left side. We'll curl the back toe under to shift the back knee back. So remember, the top of that knee is down towards your mat here. Top of that foot is flat against your mat. And then we'll tuck that blanket underneath. So again, you can fold that a little bit more if you'd like. And we find ourselves from here, just kind of making sure this feels like a good position. And then you can start to fold forward. So again, you've got all of this space. So feel free to kind of shift over to this space way over here if that is perfect for you. Don't feel like you have to fold over and straight in front like maybe you've done in the past with your pigeon pose. And if this is the first time you've ever done it, that's okay. Just find wherever it feels good. And don't feel you have to stay in one place because you can move around as much as you'd like. So stillness is important, but movement is okay, especially I feel during pregnancy. I needed a lot of movement in my poses. So your block, if you'd like your block underneath of your forehead here. And again, any movements that feel good. And sometimes, like poses like this, it's not kind of fighting into it to try to get the pose to do anything in particular. It's really more relaxing and letting go in your pose. Slowly start to bring your hands back up. We'll curl the back toe under, shift your back knee forward, and then remove this blanket out from underneath of you, and then find your child's pose or your puppy. And you can widen the knees as much as you need to. Settle into your child's pose or your puppy. And again, this is a letting go pose. So I'm going to shift into puppy for you just in case you need that one as well. Slowly start to bring yourself up. So come down onto your sits bones again. And we'll bring our feet in front of us, our knees bent, and hands behind you. So I have my fingertips facing inward. And then just bring the knees gently from side to side. So this can be a simple movement. It can be really big. It's really up to you. And there's a couple of ways to practice this one. There's also where you bring the outside, your little toes to the outside edge of your mat, and then one knee at a time comes in. Either one of these options is fine. And you might like both. In this one, I tend to kind of shift forward a little bit, so adjust your hands as needed. from here, we'll just find our seated position once more. And maybe hands to your belly. Maybe closing your eyes. And just checking in. Checking in with your breath. And how it feels. And maybe you notice something different about how your breath feels in your body from when we started today. And just know that all of the changes within you, you did this. So thank yourself. Thank your body for the work that it's doing in creating this beautiful baby. But thank yourself for taking this time out of your day to nourish your body. So thank you very much for joining me today. I always enjoy it. Thank you.